I went on the Reddit website the other day and I learned something really interesting about myself. I learned that I don't know anything about training or working out because I wasn't wearing the appropriate t-shirt. The internet is a cesspool of ignorance. There are a lot of people out there giving information based on what they've read and what they've applied for a short period of time. Now, very few people have applied what they know over 26 years like I have, drug-free in the bodybuilding field. There are a lot of people out there that are speaking about how to perform an exercise, and that is the only way. And I'll be the first to tell you that there is not one way to perform an exercise. There are many ways, but there is a way that is right for you at any certain point in time. Okay, so there are certain times where one range of motion will be right for you and certain times where it won't. And the key to all of this is learning how to listen to your body and to know what the warning signs are when you are training incorrectly for you. Right? So don't cater to the opinions out there. Like someone told me on Reddit, they said, I'm a pussy because I'm doing short ranges of motion because I'm so lazy. I don't want to do, the larger ranges of motion because I'm too weak or something. Well, I have performed the longer ranges of motion, and in some cases they have injured me with certain exercises. And so that is why I'm not doing it. It's not because I don't want to do the work, because I love doing the work. The work isn't a problem for me. So I'm just asking you to think for yourself and to apply what I teach you, but apply it in your own individual way and to find what works for you. I'm not here to perpetuate a religion, but I am one of the few people on the internet that has conducted an experiment over 2 generations, not just one. My father was a powerlifter at a very high level, and I saw how his training went in his 30s, and his joints and body could no longer take the stress from it. So I learned that powerlifting had something to do with injuries from watching that. Now, there are some powerlifters out there, no injuries for a long period of time. Yes, there are certain genetically gifted people out there that their joints have a huge amount of integrity and they just do not break. I mean, you put them in a car accident, they'll walk away from it. But that doesn't mean that that's the most efficient way to train your body and the healthiest way to train it. So because I watched what happened to my father's joints, I learned to train somewhat differently. I learned that extreme ranges of motion may contribute to injury. And as I conducted my own tests, I discovered that this was true. Okay, so if you're going to perform larger ranges of motion, I would stress to you that lighter weight is a good precaution to take. You don't have to go to the maximum lifts of the 5x5. I see all over the internet people going, oh, I hit my PR today, my PR. Personal records are a waste of time. You're doing your personal record, but at the same time, you're taking a huge risk by lifting the maximum amount of weight that day, and then you may end up with an injury. So is this worth it just to measure yourself? Why not measure your 5 rep maximum or your 10 rep maximum? Why do you have to measure the 1 rep maximum? In my own experience, this has led to a lot of injuries with a lot of people I've watched train in the gym, a lot of my friends, and extreme range of motion and 1 rep maximums are definitely a recipe for disaster. So you can listen to it or not, it's okay, but do conduct your own experiment and see what happens.
So here I'd like to show you how to do a proper military press or shoulder press. Now the way I perform the shoulder press is like I perform many other movements. I start at the chin level and I raise the bar above my head. So the angle in my shoulder is the most important. It's not about how high the bar comes or how low the bar comes. I mean, most people get stuck in that, but the thing is that will be different depending on the person, depending on how their joints are built. But the problem is with a lot of people with shoulder press is that they'll come down too low and they'll actually experience an overstretch in the front delt, and they'll start to develop a bursitis or a tendonitis of some kind, or they'll pull their delt. And at the same time, what they're doing is they're resting at the bottom a lot of times and taking the tension off the muscle. And the whole point of doing the exercise in the first place is not to take the tension off the muscle. See, I'm showing you here by lifting the weight above my head and resting it up there. That's also another way of resting, which is also cheating. it's also a way of taking the tension off the muscle. And the first priority we want is to keep the muscle tense. We want to keep the tension on the muscle and keep the tension off the tendons and ligaments. And that will cause the body to adapt in a safe way. So you'll notice here that I'll lift the weight up, and the bar only comes down to about chin level, not even, and up and down. Now, the reason why I'm coming up to here, where you're seeing me stop, is when I go above there, when I lift the weight above that area, the weight transfers from my delt into my neck, into my upper pec muscles. I find there's other muscles that start to come into play besides my delts, and the whole point is to keep the tension on the muscles that I wish to work, and at the same time, not to put undue stress on any of my joints. And I do find when I start to extend the weight over my head that there is a little bit of undue stress on my joints and tendons, especially in the neck. Okay, so you'll see. So I'm coming up, this angle shows a little bit better what's going on. I'm not straightening the arm. See, I'm not straightening the arm. So the bar still is coming over my head, but again, that's not the most important part of the movement. The most important part is the fact that my shoulder, the change of angle in my shoulder joint itself, in the capsule, right? So even when I rest above my head, I do not lock my elbows out. I always keep them partially bent, so it keeps the tension on the delts, and doesn't transfer it over to the neck. So there are a lot of people that have done overhead presses and they pull their neck muscle and they wonder why. Well, usually it's because they're going right above their head and they're straining their chin forward, so they're pulling, a muscle called the levator's cap in the back of their neck there, or they're pulling one of their muscles in their neck somehow because the neck starts to strain. So doing it this way, there's no neck strain. If I go far above the head like that, there can be neck strain at times, especially if you extend the elbows all the way and say you lock the elbows out and then you just transfer it onto the shoulders and rest there. It's not a really easy movement. I mean, a lot of people do it in CrossFit, and I'm not saying there isn't a way to do it, but if your goal is to train shoulders and to get the shoulders as big and strong as possible, you don't want to take the tension off the shoulder muscles. You want to keep the tension on and keep the tension for as long as possible. You want to keep the tension on the shoulder. You don't want it to transfer from one muscle to the next. You want the tension to stay on the muscle that you wish to work. So this is why a lot of bodybuilders are misunderstood when they train, because people say, why are you training the muscle wrong? Well, they're not training the muscle wrong. They're training the muscle right. They might be doing the exercise wrong according to including many muscle groups all at once, because their goal is to create an adaptive response in the muscle. And how you create an adaptive response in the muscle is that you push it as hard as possible till absolute fatigue, and then there you go, the adaptive response is happening. So here I'm showing you the difference between a lateral raise and then the halfway between the front raise and the lateral raise that I do. So this raise right here, let's call it an external rotation raise. I'm gonna call it that. I'm externally rotating the arms. And the reason why is because I'm trying to bring in the external rotators of the rotator cuff muscle into the movement. And this also brings in a little bit of the rear delts and the side delts at the same time. But it's really great for the rotator cuff, the external rotator cuff muscles. You'll notice when I'm performing the movement that the tension stays on the shoulder. I'm not rotating or externally rotating my shoulder so much that the tension comes off the muscle, you see? So I'm not rotating all the way back or far. I'm always keeping the dumbbells a little bit forward so that the tension stays on the external rotation muscles. And this creates a great pump in your rear delts and creates a great pump in your side delts as well. So after I hit failure on this movement, what I'll do is I'll bend over and go into an external lateral raise or a rear delt raise, but I'm still using the external rotation movement again, and I'm finishing it off, right? So this is just hitting a different part of the torque curve. So it just really burns like crazy. So it's a great little superset for you to try if you really want to hit those rear delts hard. workout, I did around 4 sets of overhead press, and then I performed about 3 to 4 sets of this exercise, actually, with the external rotation lateral raise, as I call it, with the bent over lateral raise, the rear delt lateral raise. And then the odd time I'll go into just a standard lateral raise, so it's like a triple hit combo, three exercises together, and it burns really well. It really gives you a good pump in the delts, and at the same time it works for rehabilitation of shoulder injuries. So here I am going into the lateral raise, just a standard lateral raise here, and just to get that little extra burn. Not that I need it, because it's already killing me, as you can tell by my expression. And then right here, now I go into the rear delts here, see? So I'm hitting the rotator cuff muscles and the side delt muscles. And these are the muscles that are usually the weak ones for most people that are training. The front delt usually gets hit like crazy during chest exercises, and a lot of people are doing presses like shoulder press and so forth, but the rear delt and the side delt and the external rotation muscles get underworked. So it's really important to include this in your exercise program if you wish to reduce your chances of shoulder injury. And it helps tighten everything up and helps increase your bench press too as a side effect, because there's more stability, and stability always builds strength. And what I mean by that, it's safe strength. So when you're lifting, you're not pulling muscles or tearing something because there's a certain amount of instability in the joint. So it makes your training a much more safe endeavor. So for triceps, I'm going to do some French curls, or skull crushers if you want to call them that. And what I did was I just did a flat skull crusher at first, just to test it out. But what I do usually do is, and what I enjoy is the incline one. And I noticed that it just seems to hit my tricep, but just a little bit more, because it forces you to raise the elbow upwards and stretch the tricep accordingly. So yeah, I just warmed up on the flat here. But what I did was I moved into the incline skull crusher, because I just like that one just a little bit more. But the whole point is, with triceps, and what I found that really works well with triceps is the strip set method. And because it is an isolation type movement, you're just working one muscle group mainly. What I do is I'll do as many reps as I can with a set of dumbbells. And then what I'll do is drop one dumbbell and then extend the set with just one of them. So I'll put both hands on one dumbbell and go from there. So here you go, I just drop this and then, yeah, so just extend the set like this. Now you may have to adjust your grip, depending on which hand is placed over the other one will depend on which tricep gets hit a little bit more. So sometimes I'll just go with whatever tricep feels weaker. I'll make sure that one is the one that's getting hit more at the time. But it burns like crazy. So yeah, give that a try. And the great thing is that when you really go far into failure, you'll notice that your pumps are much better, and it's just a necessary part of the whole training process is to experiment with what combination of exercise works best for you. But I do notice that with isolation exercises, it's because it's just one muscle, you don't have like another muscle to assist you getting those cheat reps out, or those extra reps. It's really useful to do the strip set method. If you're finding that you're not getting the burn or the pump from doing this, you just can't get that mind-muscle connection happening good enough. So you do the set, and then do a strip set, and then I'd recommend you do some bench dips, or close grip push-ups, or close grip bench press. Something where you include the chest and the shoulders to extend the set of the triceps. So the triceps are getting worked along with the chest and the shoulders. And that way the chest and shoulders can help push you through the burn or through the fatigue that is in the tricep. And you'll get a little bit more neuromuscular interaction. So you'll get more coordination, more help in flexing that muscle that seems so dead, right? So yes, sometimes you got to train a muscle a number of times, or for a few years or a few months, just to get the connection to it. So don't give up if you're not feeling everything right away. Now for this set, for the strip set, I figured I'd grab 2 dumbbells of half the weight. So it's pretty much the same principle. So I just want to do it. There's a little bit of a different feel. I mean, you'd think that weight is weight, but the minute you change from 1 dumbbell to 2 dumbbells, it does change the dynamic of how the exercise works and how it feels. So yeah, again, these are other experiments you can do, and it's always important to change it up. Change it up. Don't stick to the same thing, because no matter how subtle the change, it does make a difference in how your body and your muscles adapt. So here I'm showing you how that standard tricep close grip bench press is done. You see how everybody usually brings it down to lower the chest, lower the bar down to the sternum. That's what I'm trying to say. And they bring in the front delt heavily when they do this with the close grip bench press. Okay, so now what I'm showing you now, I rotate the elbows outwards. Now I'm bringing more the tricep into the movement. The tricep is now responsible for more of the movement. And that's what I want when I'm doing close grip bench press, especially when I'm training triceps. I want the triceps to fatigue. I want the triceps to hit failure, not the front delts. The front delts are already getting a beating during the shoulder workout, and sometimes during bench press workouts when I do a higher range of motion. So it's important now to say, okay, how do I hit the triceps more? So once again, this is how you hit front delt more, and you will hit some tricep in that. Close grip bench press like that, you will hit some tricep. And of course, this does depend on the individual. Some individuals are built a little differently than others, so they have to, once again, experiment with the ranges of motion and where the elbows are. So that's the general idea. That's how a close grip bench is done by me, and I'll show you as well on the bench here. So just for instructional purposes here, I'll show you how the close grip bench press is usually done. See, most of the time people come down and they'll come down, see the elbows go in and they come down right to their chest a lot of times, or their sternum. And again, I used to do close grip bench press like this. I used to perform this exercise exactly that way, and it did work a lot for triceps as well, but it brought a lot of front delt in. So you could think of it as two different varieties of close grip bench. Both work well as exercises, but the way I'm doing it right here is keeping the tension right on the tricep the entire time. So the tricep is just getting a beating. It's burning, and my delt isn't dying first, my chest isn't dying first. My tricep is the one that is going to be forced to adapt from this exercise. And it feels great after doing French curls or skull crushers and strip sets and everything. Then when you go to close grip, your tricep is definitely going to die first, no matter how you do the exercise at that point. So that's the advantage of sometimes starting with isolation exercises before compound exercises. And what I mean by compound is an exercise that includes more than one joint in the interaction. So elbows and shoulders are involved in bench press of any kind. So that would be called a compound movement. An isolation movement would only include one joint. So say the elbow, or just the shoulder, or just the knee. So yeah, isolation exercises are a great way to focus on one muscle and make sure that muscle fatigues first. And when you develop a real connection to that muscle, you'll find that there'll be ways to tweak your exercises to make sure that muscle is the one that fatigues and not another one instead. You become very conscious in how you are training and why you are training a certain way. So here's the exercise from another angle. I'm sorry, I couldn't find a better angle for you. Side angle didn't seem to work very well because of the spot bars on the side of the squat rack there. But yeah, so you can kind of see what's happening here. It's not really a long movement, it's a short movement, but I'm never locking the elbows out. My hands are close enough in grip to hit the triceps, but not so close that my wrists are bending. See, a lot of people, they get tendonitis in their wrists from close grip bench because they go really close and then their wrists have to bend. It's important for your wrist to stay straight. There's no reason for you to go too close in your grip and to force your wrist to take a lot of stress. So that's the other learning curve I had to go through years and years ago. When I started doing close grip bench, my wrists were killing me. So yeah, I hope this helps you, and yeah, I'll see you at the next video. Make sure you subscribe, and you'll get my next workout. Take care for now.